In the gospel today, Jesus says something rather curious. We just got done in the first reading of hearing the great importance of love and how the law finds its fulfillment in love. But then Jesus begins today's gospel with saying that in order to be his disciple, we have to hate our father, our mother, our wife, husband, children, brothers and sisters. Why would Jesus say such a thing? Why would he encourage us to hate? Well, the word that Jesus uses here, as in fact is used elsewhere in scriptures to mean not literal hatred, but it's sort of an exaggerated idiomatic expression meaning to love less. It's a strong word that Jesus uses to emphasize the point that all of our loves, whether they be possessions or people, our dearest loves, our dearest family members, everything must take second place to him. He has to be our first love and our greatest love. And he calls us to love in a way that is not half-hearted or that holds back, but that gives everything. We tend to think of the love of God or talk about the love of God or the commandment to love our neighbor as something perhaps a little too familiar to us. We sort of reduce it to simply being nice or to this vague sense of, can't we all just get along? But in reality, as this gospel makes clear, the love of God and the love that God calls us to imitate is much deeper than that. It requires something of us. It requires to love in a way that costs us something. To risk the disapproval or perhaps even the hatred of others. It's easy for us to talk about world peace, but how easy is it for us to actually forgive those who have wronged us? It's easy for us to talk about global poverty, but how easy is it for us to actually reach into our pockets and give to the homeless person on the street? It's easy for us to talk about being pro-life, but how many of us actually have the courage to reach out to someone who we know is considering having an abortion? True love always requires something from us, as Jesus himself knew. Jesus' words were always words of love. He always spoke the truth in love. He said things differently depending upon who he was talking to. For example, the way he talks to the Pharisees is much different from the way he talks to the woman caught in adultery. But nonetheless, he is always speaking the truth, and he is always doing it in love. Sometimes he's met with love in return, and sometimes he's met with hatred, to the point of being killed, to the point of being nailed on a cross. That is the great love of Jesus. That is how much he loves us. To love to the point of risking the disapproval and even the hatred of others. And that is the love that he too calls us to imitate. To not love simply when it's convenient, when it feels nice, or when it's easy. But to love when it truly costs us something. To love when it requires something from us. To love even when we may meet with disapproval or even hatred from our own loved ones. And so on this day, let us ask God for the grace to love as he does, not holding anything back, not putting any other love before him, but to love him before all else, to give him everything, and to be willing to love to the point of even risking hatred.